Hi, everyone, and welcome to the School of Design virtual open house. And thanks for being with us this morning. You won't be able to see us, unfortunately, we're all masked up. My colleague Vani is here with me in the room. And so social distancing guidelines require that we're all masked up. Would have loved to meet you in person, but this is the next best thing. So welcome to Design School's virtual open house breakout session. My name is Pat, and I'm the Assistant Director at the School of Design, looking out for publicity and outreach. And with me today is my colleague, Vani Rajendran over there, and she is the Deputy Director at the School of Design. So both of us are actually here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the school, regarding the way we teach and the learning experience here, as well as careers, opportunities that we offer within the School of Design. And before we get started on today's program, just want to highlight that there are a few ways that you can give us your questions. The first, if you are watching us on YouTube Live, you have a YouTube account, please remember to put all your questions in the comments section, and we'll be able to address those questions at the end of the presentation. The other way, for those of you who do not have a Gmail account or a YouTube account, the way to ask us questions is to look at the following QR code that we will flash on screen. Just give it a second for the QR code to come up. With this QR code that you're seeing right now, you can scan this and it will lead you to this site called Pigeonhole. When you're on that site, look out for the School of Design Q&A session and click on that. Once you're in, you will be able to write all the questions that you want, and we will have access to those questions as well. I'm just going to give you a minute here for you to scan this QR code and for you to access the Pigeonhole site before I proceed with the rest of the presentation. So as we are presenting later on, if there are questions that strike you, please do feel free to put that all in the comment section so that we will address that one by one at the end of the presentation. Okay, and so without further ado, allow me to then move into the presentation proper with my slides. Okay. So I always like to start all my presentations about design school with something about passion. And this lady over here, this quote that you see here by a certain Mimi Smith, refers to John Lennon, the great and late John Lennon, who evidently followed his passion despite his parents and his family having a lot of reservations about a musician's lifestyle or the career prospects of a poor musician. But we're glad that he has followed his passion. And indeed, passion is what it's all about, whether you're in music or you're in design. So in the School of Design, I think doing design work certainly requires a fair bit of passion too. A lot of the students who come in here really have a strong love for design, whether it is in communication, in graphic design, in film, and so on. They are following their passions when they come here. This is something we believe in. When you have passion for design, it allows you a certain amount of stamina to really follow through on your projects, to manage your time, and so on. So it's tough, doing design work. And I would be the first to tell you this. 3 years of design work is really 3 years of projects, 3 years of crits, and it deserves a certain resilience, to pursue design in design school. So a bit about the history of the School of Design first. We are the most established design school in a polytechnic. We've been around since 1990, but you see the date 1969, again, that is because when we first became TP Design School, we were also subsumed, before that we were Baharudin Vocational Institute, then we were subsumed into TP Design. So what that basically means is you've got many, many years of history in terms of producing very strong designers who are leaders in their field. In fact, the brand name for TP Design is very often associated in industry with excellence, with very strong students, with strong technical skills, very creative graduates as well. So that brand name is well known, and we've had that and been building that for the last 30 years or so. Indeed, we are an award-winning school as well. So this is something that the industry also recognizes when you talk about design. A very quick snapshot about the school. We are not a very big school. We only have about 1,000, right now it's probably about 1,300 students and 70 plus, 80 plus staff. What is interesting here is to note that we are 100% project-based. What that means is there are no written exams within the School of Design. Every single project is assessed on its own merit, and the students who come in here will have to deal with that right from the beginning through a variety of assignments, briefs and crits and so on. So for students who are coming in, I guess one of the key differences really is to understand that there needs to be a lot more independence, a lot more self-discipline in terms of managing their time and managing the project works. It's quite different from secondary school, and fair amount of adjustment is usually needed. So students here tend to be a lot more mature, a lot more self-directed, and they would have to pursue their own briefs, do their research, and be accountable for their own work. So what is an anatomy of a designer today? What does industry actually look for when you're talking about design? Okay, I think there's a bit of a glitch. So yes, we're back to the slides now. So if you look at this, there are certain buzzwords here. Aside from the technical skills, I guess industry, when you're going out there to work in industry, the employers are really looking for designers who are a bit more resilient, who can be very agile, who are idea-driven. So it's not just the technical skills that we give you in design school. It's every opportunity to shape all these different aspects of your character for you to be a good, strong design professional. So when we think of the curriculum that we have in the School of Design, it's always never done just by ourselves. We do this often in consultation with industry. So all these qualities that you see here are not something that we drew out of the air. We've spoken to many leaders in industry with our school advisory committee, and these are the attributes that we see that the design industry is looking for in good designers. So to move on to the School of Design then, also that we are the most comprehensive design school across all the polytechnics. There may be other polytechnics who do offer design courses, but they will not have the full comprehensive range of design. We are also the only polytechnic that has a fashion course as well. So there is a very strong collaborative interdisciplinary studio environment that we can provide in this case because of the comprehensive nature of all our courses. Whether you're in fashion or you're in communication design or product, you would be able to learn from each other across the different courses, network, and build those ties so that when you do graduate, you'll find that there is a strong network of support waiting for you in industry when you're finally out there. So let me start with apparel design and merchandising. Very quickly, this is the only fashion course in a polytechnic. And what is unique about it is that it teaches you that full cycle of the fashion business. And understand that the fashion business is actually very wide. So there's front-end work and there's back-end work as well. Every student in the first year would go through the fundamentals of fashion. So whether it comes to baseline fashion illustration or baseline marketing, they would have to understand all that before they're allowed to specialize in either retail merchandising or fashion design. So at the end of that, in the final year project, they would have to deliver a project based on their own specialisms. And this is where they also get to learn a great deal about the business of fashion. So understand that there is a lot of background work when it comes to social media marketing, especially today when you are looking at a lot of e-commerce, when shopping has largely gone online. The students are also exposed to digital marketing concerns. And moving on to communication design, again, communication design is very broad. So first year is basic training in all aspects of graphic design. So whether it's typography or basic photography, all the core skills in terms of graphic design are given to students in the first year. And later on, from year 2 onwards, they are allowed to choose to specialize either branding design, integrated comms, or image design. So with that, then again, you're seeing a very T-shaped type of a graduate, a graphic designer who has the basic skills and able to work independently in any graphic design outfit, as well as having then deeper skills, whether it comes to branding strategy or it comes with advertising or web integrated campaigns. they would have the deeper skills to also work in these areas. So you get a very well-rounded communication professional in coming out from communication design. When you look at digital film and television then, well, the key thing about the course is that creative storytelling element. So while we do give the students the important video skills, camera skills, editing skills, and that's baseline knowledge again for every student in digital film and television, there is a strong emphasis on creative storytelling. This is important because eventually the students do work in groups to produce their own films. They do learn to pitch their stories as well to industry. We do invite clients from industry in for a pitch session, and some of these projects eventually do get funded, and they do get produced into film as well. So right from first year, the students do work on very short films, probably about 5 minutes long, down to the second year where they move into documentaries, about 10 minutes. And by the time they reach their final year, they will be working on short films, which are easily about 20 minutes to half an hour long. And they have to learn to work within their budgets, just as all films do have a budget as well. Whether you're building a blockbuster film or a short indie film, they do have budgets to work with. They have to be very creative in how they use their time, their resources, and this is all part and parcel of creating a very well-rounded media professional. Again, in the digital film and television course, the students are able to specialize as well, either in producing and directing or production and technical as well. In interior architecture and design, this is in fact one of the oldest courses that we have in TP Design School. It's there right from the beginning. A very, very strong history of producing very excellent interior designers and architects. There is a very strong industry emphasis within interior architecture and design. Our links with the big firms in industry are very strong. Very often, the students get a lot of mentorship and internship opportunities with firms such as Ong & Ong and the larger firms out there. So again, it's about designing the spaces within four walls. If I take an empty shell of a home or a building, how do you then make sense of it? How do you allocate and design the space which then fits the community that you are designing for? So in understanding the needs of the community that you are designing for, these students would have to do their own research. They would have to understand the space, and all the considerations of the environment before they are able to design this. So students who graduate from here, usually some of them do move on to university as well. We are registered, we have linked with the Institute of Architects, and the students are able to move into NUS architecture in the first year, or even SUTD if they choose to apply for this. So with product and industrial design, again, the emphasis has somewhat changed. In the past, yes, product and industrial design is very much product-centric, understanding how humans are using certain devices, whether it is a new cell phone or even a simple piece of furniture. But today, product and industrial design has expanded its reach. In terms of understanding human interaction then, I think the skills for PID graduates have in fact been in demand even in non-design areas. So you'll find that, let's say, organizations in healthcare or banking would now hire product designers because they understand the human experience. They understand human interaction, and they would be hired for their wealth of knowledge in the design process, in then coming up with ways to improve a client interaction, let's say for a bank or for a hospital. So definitely the scope in terms of product and industrial design career opportunities has expanded well beyond just consumer electronics or furniture, although that is still relevant to other industries like banking, healthcare, and so on. So in TP Design, we have this center called Beyond Design Center. We believe a great deal in collaborative design. And in fact, in a school which has the most comprehensive range of courses, there is ample room for interdisciplinary work, where the students from different courses can come together, just as they do in the real world, to work on projects, on very diverse projects. Some of them are with NGOs here within Singapore. Some of them are done overseas as well. There's a strong sense of the need to use design to go beyond the commercial, to do good. So if you think of community projects that would benefit the larger community, to think about sustainability in design, this would be the center that spearheads these causes and would bring together these diverse groups of students to work on these projects as well. So in the School of Design, I have to say that we have a very wide range of students here. We've had students who come from ITE, students who come from Express, who could have gone to probably any JC, but they choose to come to do design here. Also have students who come from an NA background, normal acad background. They come to us through PFP, the Polytechnic Foundation Program. So in any case, that whole range of students that you see here really means that the field is wide open. And how well they do will really hinge on what they do from this point on. So whether you are an Express student with 6 points at O levels, or you're coming from ITE, it doesn't matter. Really, it's how you manage your projects, how curious you are, to explore a certain topic, and how resilient you are in questioning. So really, the scope is wide open, and many of our students then move on from here, not only in design, but in very interesting non-design areas as well. So the design spirit, as any student here will tell you, if you talk to any of our students, will tell you that we are like a family. They are very, very passionate. The design students are a very opinionated lot, but they all have a good heart. In general, you can't stop them from expressing their opinions, and we encourage this greatly in terms of being very curious, in terms of being very adventurous. But the key thing is they have a heart for the school and they have a heart for each other. They've built a community usually from the first day they get in, which is through the design orientation camp. So COVID notwithstanding, we hope that this year we will be able to pull together a strong design orientation experience as well. So how do we teach here in design school? Very often, because it's very much project-led, there are many opportunities for students to really lead their own learning. Of course, the lecturers are there to facilitate this. And the lecturers are here to guide the students to create their projects and give them feedback. But the students have to be very self-directed in answering the brief. So the brief takes, center stage for every single student. And they go out, they do their own research, they do their interviews, they explore, they come up with a design, they get feedback, and the cycle goes on. So right from the beginning, we are already exposing them to the design process. If you look at this project here, right towards the upper right-hand side of the screen, the middle side, you see a group of people looking at a screen. And typically for every single project, when we end it, there's an opportunity for a crit, where their peers, their classmates, their lecturers are gathered together to criticize the project, not in a bad way, not in a destructive manner, but really to offer feedback and to say where they feel that you could have improved, or there are certain areas that you could perhaps consider to make the project a bit better. And the students would learn to take this in their stride. So very often, as you know, in the design business, your clients will be the ones who will give you feedback. And very often your clients will demand a very quick turnaround time. So this process of understanding feedback and then going back and then improving on the project, this is all part of that design cycle that we expose our students to. Okay, at the end of 3 years of work, usually there is a graduation show. Unfortunately, because of COVID last year, we were not able to have our graduation show. But as far as possible, if the requirements, if the social distancing requirements allow us, we would, of course, put our students' work out there for industry to also have a look and to share their inputs, to see the talents that are now emerging from the year. So there's usually a fashion show for the fashion students to showcase their work as well. And again, as I said, in 3 years' time, if COVID dies down, we hope to be able to one day put up a similar show again. So we are an award-winning school. That's no secret in industry as well. You can see the list of awards that we have here. This is just a snapshot. Indeed, over the years, we have won many, many awards, both locally as well as internationally. We're very proud of the British D and AD awards that we have won. This is, in fact, a very prestigious International Design Award. And we're very proud that our students have taken the yellow pencil home 2 years in a row. But what we are very, very proud of is the Crowbar Awards. We have been awarded Institution of the Year 4 years in a row. So this is very fresh. It was just last month that this was announced on screen, virtually, of course, that we have won the Institution of the Year. Great celebrations. And I'll show you the medal tally in a while, why we are so proud of this. The Crowbar Awards is a national level award design competition where we go up against all the different polytechnics, the different design schools. Some of them are universities, as you can see, and really very proud of our students. They have done really, really well to come in with 22 golds and 23 silvers and so on, placing us right at the top of the table. And year upon year, for the last 4 years, we have done this and we have emerged as the top design institution of the year. So that's a great deal to be proud of. It talks about the rigor and the quality of the work that comes out from Temasek Polytechnic Design. So we talk about giants. Why are they giants? Really, we have been around for so many years that many of our alumni are now newsmakers and leaders in the design field. So we also work, in terms of organizations that we like to cooperate with, collaborate with, and partner. People from industry, like the Design Singapore Council. We work with MediaCorp very, very frequently. These are some of the names that we have worked with in terms of the projects. So we try and keep learning very real. Every single course would have industry projects where they work on very real briefs. So real briefs meaning these are industry briefs that come from clients, and the students take that as a brief and they work on them. Eventually, some of these briefs may actually be actualized. So some of them may have been commercialized as well. Takashimaya is one example. Last year, in fact, 2 years ago, when we did the Christmas wrappers design for Takashimaya, the final year students in communication design did this. Takashimaya liked the design so much that they adopted the designs as the Christmas packaging for the year. So that's one example of how certain student projects actually end up as real commercial projects as well. So this is, again, a very strong project, an example of collaboration with industry. We worked with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs 2 years ago to rebrand the Singapore Cooperation Centers in 4 ASEAN countries. And to do that, we also redid the interior of those spaces. So you can see from that picture right now, that's actual. So they took the entire design that the interior architecture and design students did, and they created it in these 4 centers. So today, if you walk into, Yangon and you're looking at the SCC there, you would see a student's work actually come to life. So there were photo exhibitions that we put up at the request of MFA to celebrate the ASEAN chairmanship as well. And all these projects, I think, were really good exposure for the students who went through them. And we're really proud that Singapore has decided to adopt these designs as well. Another very strong example of collaboration with industry. So in keeping it real, we try to create all these opportunities for our students to work with industry, and Equator is one of them. The DDB Group is one of the world's largest digital agencies, right? And they have chosen to kickstart Equator with TP Design. Really, it's now a lab, which is a real enterprise in residence, meaning that the students there will work with DDB's team on actual live projects. And one example is Shiseido, where they created an award-winning chatbot, which eventually won the Marquis Award in 2018. So it's a very strong example of live work. They are actually working with a live client, a live brief, with industry professionals as well. So the experience has been wonderful for students who are involved in this project, and it's ongoing because Equator is always here, and there are always projects which are going on where students can work on. So among our alumni over the years, many of them have gone on to do very well. Some of them have ended up being award-winning President's Design Award Designers of the Year. This, of course, is the pinnacle of excellence in design. And I'm referring to the 5 gentlemen standing there. TP Design is actually the only design school across Singapore that has produced the largest number of President's Design Award winners. So certainly they are movers and shakers in their own way, and they have led industry in many different areas. What's interesting here in this slide is really to talk about how design is so versatile today. And not only are designers now working in the traditional forms of design, in the agencies and so on, they are now moving beyond design. And they are looking at healthcare, they're looking at banking. Designers are now everywhere, in every facet of industry. I think today, industry has realized the value of design in the business cycle. No longer is design seen as a nice to have. Design today is seen as a must have. So for all these industries such as banks and hospitals, they take in designers to understand the human-centered process. They use the design process to create better experiences and better products for their clients as well. So the range is so diverse. If you look at, let's say, Joan used to be from ADM. She was a fashion student. And today she's working in one of the big four financial consultant firms, KPMG, Pete Mawick, and so on. So when you look at all these, you realize that there are actually opportunities today, career opportunities, not just in design, but in many, many industries out there. So we like to take our student places, right? So, in the days before COVID, many opportunities to actually be out there for our students. And, we feel that this is in fact very useful for them to understand different cultures. And this will, of course, enhance the design experience as well. When they are not just in Singapore, and they're seeing how people live and work and play in different countries across the world. So we hope that, when COVID ends, there will be opportunities to again bring our students out there. But even if there aren't, there will be other ways that we will try and use to allow our students that same amount of exposure to different cultures and different international exchanges as well. And let's talk about further studies. So a lot of opportunities for our students to actually move into university. So not just the local universities, of course, but some of the best design schools out there in the world. These are all some of the top names that you see here. And this is just a snapshot, where we find our students have gone to. Certainly the list is a lot longer than this, but they are here because these are some of the most prestigious design institutions in the world, and they have taken in our students on the basis of strong portfolio. So how do you get to TP Design and what happens after that, right? Where you all are, you're now looking at joint admissions exercise. Some of you may be considering, whether you want to go to a JC or you want to go to a poly. Rest assured that when you go to a JC or a poly and you go to university, it's really still the same number of years, that you need to acquire a degree. You find yourself pretty much in the same place. For most of our students who move to a local university, they do get perhaps the first year off, and so they complete degree studies in about 3 years before they can move on. If you choose to go overseas, of course, there are many other ways. Some of the overseas universities may be a bit more flexible. On the strength of the portfolio, they may well cut off as much as 2 years of the entire program, allowing students to actually complete their degrees in a shorter time. And of course, if you look at that fourth track there, the fast track, there are students who move from a polytechnic diploma, from TP Design, into a master's degree straight off. And when they do that, they skip the undergraduate phase completely. And this is, while not uncommon, while not frequent, it is not uncommon as well. They do this in some of the best institutions of the world, such as Yale University too. Finally, I wanted to look at the last column there. When you look at poly and then you look at CET, which is continuous education. Really, the government is very encouraging of continuous education. In 3 years, at the end of 3 years, some of our students do pursue an extra year and they gain a specialist diploma. There are many work-study programs generously funded by the government to encourage this as well. So for students who feel that they don't need to go on to university, they can always choose to get a specialist diploma by working with a firm at the same time. And that again enhances their learning, enhances the depth of knowledge that they have, and adds value to their portfolio too. So many ways to progress after a diploma from TP Design. And finally, I want to just talk about this. Art is not a prerequisite. I just want to change this misconception here. There are many times where I hear students say, I need to draw, I need to be creative, and I didn't take art, so how can I do design? The truth is you don't need to learn to draw, or you don't need to have taken art to come to design school. Art and design are completely different. Design is really more about ideas and problem solving, seeking sustainable solutions. art is about expression. So the ability to draw is not necessary. It will be helpful in communicating an idea, but we are not looking for artists here, we're looking for designers. So rest assured that we will teach you, if you don't have drawing skills, we will teach you how to draw. But from there, it's not necessary to be a fantastic artist in order to be a good designer. There are many, many good designers who can't draw or can't draw very well too. All right, so I've come to the end of my presentation and I'm going to open the floor for questions now. We're going to look at the all the different questions that you have. And I'm going to invite my colleague Vani to also come in and answer the questions together with me. Maybe let's look at the first question that's coming in. Well, on YouTube Live. Okay, we'll take the first question here from Jagdish. He says, can a student still apply to other poly for admissions? Yeah. To other poly for admissions if his seat is already confirmed at TP through the EAE. Okay, Vani, would you like to answer that question?
Hi, Jagdish. If your space has already been confirmed via EAE, you will not be able to participate in other admission exercise. That's my short answer. Yeah. And you will not be able to apply to other polys as well, since you already have secured a place at EAE.
Okay, also Jagdish's second question, what chance do foreign students have for admissions into TP? There is, in fact, a different admissions exercise for foreign students. You have to look out for the direct admissions exercise, which will happen probably sometime later in January. We do take in foreign students, but you would have to apply at that admissions exercise. And I'm going to look at the next question now from GC Yao. My kid has been accepted for design comms. She took EMath POA and not AMaths. I now notice that R2 is part of the requirement. Will her place be affected under the MER? I would invite Vani to actually answer this one.
So, Vani, thanks, Pat. I just want to clarify. If you go into each of the courses, if you're reading about the courses, each course would have a MER, a set of MER. For communication design, you need to have English, math, and math can be either EMath or AMath, and you must have passed 2 other subjects, and you should have gotten 1 to 6. That is minimum entry requirement. Now, as in order to qualify to apply for this course, or even if you have been accepted under EAE, to retain your seat, you must also ensure that your EL R2B2 is within 26 points. So that's what you need to be concerned about. You need to ensure that you meet the minimum entry requirement. As I mentioned, for English, let me do a quick check. I think it is 1 to 6, math 1 to 7. Your 2 other subjects, you need to have 1 to 6. That's the minimum entry requirement. And then just make sure that your combined EL R2 B2 is below 26. In that case, you'll be able to retain your seat that has been offered via EAE.
Okay, thanks. Question by Jagdish as well. Any tips how a student can prepare for the EAE, especially for admission to fashion design? Okay, look out first of all for the portfolio development webinars that we will usually host, sometime in April or May, and that is when we will share a lot more tips on how you can prepare a strong portfolio for EAE. Generally, for fashion, we do look at work, which is beyond school. So we encourage students to show design work or artwork that they have done which is outside of the school curriculum. So even if a student has done, let's say, art for O levels, they need not just show just their coursework. In fact, they should be showing other pieces of work. Sometimes for fashion, we do see students who do their own sewing. They could have perhaps sewn a Halloween costume, or they could have created a gift that they put together. And these artifacts can then be shown as well. Certainly, students who also come and choose fashion, they would also, perhaps have shown, say, fashion illustrated designs that they have done, or they would have created a mood board of certain trends that they admire, or they would be able to talk to us, of some of the designers that they follow as well. So all these would give us some idea whether the student really has the right attitude and passion for a fashion course too. I hope that answers the question, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Shameen asks, what are possible tests that will come out for the aptitude test? Okay, so first of all, I would say we try not to keep the aptitude test so onerous. It's not difficult. It's really a way for us to assess whether you have some general knowledge of the area, you have some passion in it, in that particular subject area or not. Perhaps there may be some writing that will be involved. There will be some simple drawing tests that will be involved. Really, again, it's not about testing skills and how wonderfully you draw, but what you can come up with, some of the ideas, that you can come up with during the aptitude test as part of drawing. Shameen also then asked, for communication design, what are some digital softwares that will be used? And do we need to have prior knowledge in digital art when considering this course? The answer is no. Of course, if you have prior knowledge, that would help, certainly. But we do teach our students right from the beginning. There is a subject called digital literacy that we will, give them the skills in terms of Photoshop, in terms of Illustrator, and all the softwares that they actually need. All right, so these are some of the things that we would teach. I'm going to move on then. My years has a question that says, around how many students continue fashion design degree, either local or overseas per cohort? It's really very hard to say. Honestly, when they leave us, it's quite a challenge to track them. We do know that for fashion, we do know that most of the students there do aspire to continue for a degree or in fashion. I would say in Singapore, you're really limited by the number of fashion degree courses that are around here. I think LaSalle does offer, but most of our students, if they do fashion, they tend to do them overseas. In terms of numbers, it's quite hard to confirm, unfortunately. Maybe a handful, would do them, about two-thirds, yeah, about 20 to 30, yeah, students would actually go overseas, to do their degree, right? Archana is asking, how does TP help out students with internship? Does the student have a fixed number of companies to apply, or the student secure an internship on her own? Maybe I'll invite Vani to answer this.
Let me answer that question. Where student internship is concerned, we encourage our students to secure their own internship companies. Students will apply to multiple organizations, they go for interviews. Of course, the school also has got a list of partners. Students who struggle, who are not able to secure a place in a company on their own, we will offer some companies to these students to apply and to attend interviews and try and secure. So far, we never had an issue with our students not being able to find a placement for internship. Of course, we need our students to be open about the places that they can go to for internship. As Pat explained during her presentation today, your opportunities are not just within design agencies. You can go any place. A lot of banks and hospitals have innovation centers. So as long as we are open to exploring, our students should not have any issues securing internship.
Okay, so Archana has another question. How is TP Design and Communication course offering better than LaSalle or NAFA or similar courses? Okay, I really can't speak for LaSalle or NAFA. We try not to compare. I think we're all quite different. I can't say that we're better, certainly, and neither can I say that, LaSalle is better or worse off than we are. I would really urge you to consider each course on its own merit and talk to the different lecturers there at NAFOR, LaSalle, or even with us, before you make your choice. Really, the comparison is up to the student who actually does makes his choice. And Vani has something to add to that.
I'll just add to that, to Pat's comments. Of course, it's not fair for us to compare ourselves with NAFA or LaSalle. Honestly, we don't have a very intimate knowledge of the kind of program the students go through in those private institutions. But what I can say for our courses, our diplomas here is, as a public institution, we do have a lot of programs we include and we see as adding value to the students' education. So some of you may have read about our TP fundamental subjects. We ensure that our students are not just trained in the technical skills in the area they have chosen, but we also want to give them exposure in, say, entrepreneurship, communication skills. We even have global citizenship to give them that exposure to what's out there. Internship is a core for us. So we have all of these programs that add value to the students' education when they are with us. So that's a value add that we can offer.
Let me move on to the next question from Jolene Teo. Is internship reserved for only the better grade students or everyone gets a chance? No. The answer is internship is compulsory at polytechnic level, not just for design school, but every single course out there. And every student has to go for internship. So yeah, it's not just for the better grades. Archana has another question. What kind of main expenses should be expected while doing the various projects other than a laptop? Does it also involve purchasing software programs for graphic designing? Typically, I believe for us in the School of Design, as a school, we do have educational licenses that the students are able to use as well. So I don't think we would advise students to purchase these software programs, if I'm not wrong. Fanny, would you be able to clarify that?
I think in terms of expenses, we do have educational licenses, so that is not going to be an issue. If your concern is how much would the students spend while pursuing a design education, I mean, of course, there are some costs involved when a student does a project, depending on the diploma that they select. There will be some costs. So project costs, some of them will have to, do models. There's printing costs involved. For digital film and television students, they are going to do film, right? They are going to do short films, and there's a lot of cost involved in that. But what I want to reassure parents out there or students out there is students who come from very challenging backgrounds, financial backgrounds. We ensure that you are not denied a good education because of that. We do have a lot of bursaries, scholarship for students. Within School of Design, we also have our own project grants that we offer to the really needy students. So students who feel that, hey, is this going to be a very expensive course and it's going to be tough for me because, my family situation is not so good, do not worry. We do have a lot of schemes in place that would help you.
Okay, allow me to move on. LP has, in fact, two questions. The first is, why should a student choose fashion at your school versus somewhere like LaSalle? What sets you apart? And the second question is, if a student chooses fashion, are there sufficiently broad range of electives to prep them for marketing the product in the real world, e.g., for example, know how to run a show, photography, multimedia, etc. Okay, let's take the first question. Why should a student choose fashion at our school? Well, I can say that this course provides that first broad overview, of fashion. Very often the industry is so huge, whether you choose to work in the back end as design or in the manufacturing end or in the front end in terms of merchandising, marketing, branding, and so on. It's good to have this fundamental knowledge of everything. I'm not sure about the LaSalle program. I can't comment on the merits of the LaSalle program as well. But I would say that, to speak for us, for TP Design, the apparel design course does give you that fundamental before you decide, okay, I think I'm more suited to fashion design as a back end, and then you specialize in that. And then further on, if the students choose to further their studies or their exposure to that area, at least they are clearer. So it allows them the time to explore all the options while knowing exactly what the industry is all about, the huge expanse of work that's available in the industry. The second question, if a student chooses fashion, are there electives to prepare them? Yes, certainly. I think that's the full aim that we have within design school. They are exposed to social media marketing. They are exposed to photography. They do know how to run certain fashion shows as well. I believe that's all being taught in the curriculum too. We do give them sufficient exposure. Fanny, do you want to add to that too?
I think in the first year, in particular, there are enough fundamental subjects offered to the students to give them a taster in some of the areas that you have highlighted, and even beyond that, right? So it's a holistic program that we are designing for our students before they can decide for themselves which particular area I want to focus on. So answer is yes, we will give them the students enough exposure out there for the various areas, and then you can decide if you want to specialize in one particular area, then you can do that.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Claudia Dakota's questions, two questions. Is it necessary for us to be taking art to apply for these courses? The answer is no. As I said, there would always be students who come from triple sciences or without any art background, and they do very well here. All design students, when they come in, there is a subject called Design Fundamentals that is compulsory for them. And Design Fundamentals will give them the knowledge that they need in terms of drawing, composition, color, and so on, the basic knowledge in art in order to do design studies. So it's okay, if you haven't taken art before, you can still apply for design courses. Claudia is also asking, what should we include for our portfolio for fashion designing? And I'll take Anya's question to answer at the same time. What makes a good portfolio for EAE? Okay, so when we look at portfolio, we're looking at depth and breadth of work. As I said, there are many students who come into us. Some of them just bring their coursework for D&T or for art. In all honesty, that's not enough. Really, even if you do a D&T project, it's still only one project that you're showing. What we want to see is a range. So we fully encourage you to show us the work that you've done outside of school. Some of them would have kept sketchbooks, or they would have been into photography, for example. If they are into video, they may have some clips that they have done. All this will be part of your portfolio as well. So even if you do drawing, right, the drawing could well be just, instead of a one-dimensional, just using pencil alone, maybe there could be a range of different media that you use, right? So show us range, show us things that you would have done outside of school. And I'm sure Vani would have things to add to this as well, because both of us do sit on the selection panels and we see our fair share of our portfolio. So Vani, over to you to add.
Maybe just one thing I want to add to what Pat has already highlighted is ensure you do not come in with just one or two pieces, or you are interested, for example, digital film and television. You have it in your mind that you want to be a script writer in future. So all I see is maybe samples of scripts that you have done. There is no guarantee, right, that eventually that is what you're going to focus on, because digital film and television, we train you in a whole host of skill set. So what we want to see during an interview is that breadth that Pat talked about. Show us your potential in various areas. So for digital film, maybe you may have done a short video on your own. You may have done something for your school. That is good. If you have done a script, that is fine. You can also do that. Sometimes maybe you have focused on a specific aspect. Maybe you did audio, right, for someone else's video production. So that becomes a very good example for you to showcase. You can also show your ability to do simple sketches. You have done some 3D products. You have dabbled with some prototyping. So sky is the limit, honestly, where your portfolio is concerned. We have seen students who come with so much work. Literally, we have to stop them because we don't have the kind of time to see everything. So, wow us, bring in as much as you can. don't censor, don't think that this is not good enough, I do not want the show, let us be the judge of that. Right.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong answer, and I think that will also answer Carmen's question. What do we need to include in a good portfolio for digital film and television? So I'm just going to move to Stella Lee's question. What are the options for product design, industrial design? Would there be solid rice bowl now in view of pandemic? Also understand private sectors are also cutting costs. Well, I think because of COVID, I think it's affected everybody across all sectors. Design too is similarly affected and impacted by the COVID pandemic. Is there such a thing as a solid rice bowl today? I'm not sure that any industry will be able to guarantee a solid rice bowl, to be honest. I think the way to maintain employment really is not just in terms of the technical skill sets that you have, but really it's in the mindset, it's in the attitude. Yesterday, I gave a talk about prospects and opportunities. I talked about being hungry, I talked about being resilient, and about having an attitude towards lifelong learning and the humility to keep learning, taking new courses, and further honing your skills. So I think that is going to be important. It's not just about whether it's product design and industrial design. Of course, as Vali and I talked about, these areas are now in high demand, not just in the traditional design sectors, but in the non-design sectors as well. But having said that, I think if with the right sort of mindset and attitude, and this is something that we choose to help our students with, there should be, a lot of options for you moving forward. Rice bowl or no rice bowl, yeah. Vani, you want to add
Can
to
I
that?
add to that question? I know that is on the minds of a lot of parents in particular. Is this program going to allow my child to survive out there? I think the most important thing to accept and be mindful about is the learning doesn't stop after the 3 years. If we think that you get that diploma and that's that, and I should be able to get a solid job out there and I will forever keep that job, things have changed. And COVID actually has taught us that learning continues. First off, for product design, it no longer is that traditional product design that we knew of in the past, right? So it is not just about furniture design or lifestyle product design. It is beyond that. Today's service design has become the buzzword as well. How do I create good experiences for people? We didn't touch on that during our product design diploma, but you may want to go in depth, which means the learning must continue beyond the diploma program, right? There's lots of opportunity in UI UX now. So the banks are all very hungry for people with this kind of training. So if you ask me, is there potential? Is there prospect? Prospects there are. Even with COVID, I think there are a lot of prospects, but are we ready to take it on? Are we okay with stepping out of our comfort zone and being that risk taker, and try it and then continue to learn? Then I think your future is secure. But if we do not want to do that, it is going to be a challenge because our economy evolves, the employment landscape keeps changing, so we need to keep learning.
Okay, thanks, Fanny. I think yeah, that's a very good point. It's about really being able to keep learning to see where the trends are going as well. I'm going to move to that next question now from Claudia. She's asking, how many points do you need for fashion design? I think that answer should be available actually in the website. There is usually a range of points for the students who are coming in. I believe
So,
it's about 40.
Claudia, we can only go by the previous year's cutoff point, or what do they call it? Last
Okay.
aggregate. Last aggregate. Right. So last year, the range was 7 to 14 for apparel design. I mean, it may not be the case this year, but if you are looking at what is the range, then that was the range for 2020, 7 to 14. And these are all on our website, so you can go and take a look for all the other diplomas as well.
Okay, Benedict is asking, hi, would it help to learn AutoCAD to get into interior architecture and design, product industrial or communication design if I need to appeal? No, I don't think so. I think learning AutoCAD is something that we would teach you, so don't worry about that. Yeah, other than
Benedict,
that, Ani?
yeah, Benedict, I think it is not just that one thing you do well in that will secure you a place in our school. You need to show potential. You must show that you are versatile, that you have the ability to, persevere through the 3 years of program. You must show some potential that you have, whether it's product design, communication design. You cannot tell yourself that, okay, I'm going to go and quickly go and learn AutoCAD and that should secure my place with product or interior architecture. It doesn't work that way. Is it a good thing for you to have that knowledge? Yeah, maybe, but we look beyond that, right? We look at your creativity. Do you have the creative, acumen? Are you someone who looks at doing things very differently? Are you innovative? Have you done things outside of your school projects, right? So these are some of the things we look at. So it can't just be that one thing that is going to secure you that place, right?
Okay, Calviny72 is asking clarification on early admissions for students who take O-level exam in 2021. Is the early admissions exercise in the middle of 2021 for 2022 intake? Yes, it is. So hope that answers your question. That's a very succinct answer. Leahona Tan is asking, if I want to go to a poly through EAE, do I have to apply to a certain course? If it is at EAE, you look out for the MOE announcements, usually in mid-June. And there are usually three choices or options that you can pick, So yes, put your choices up there, three of them, and apply. Sarah, no, she's retracted that. Gary is asking, what career opportunities are there after fashion? Can a fashion diploma let you do other jobs besides fashion-related courses? Yes, certainly. Bearing in mind that the fashion diploma here gives you that whole business-related aspect as well behind fashion. So that again can be relevant for many other industries. We've seen our graduates move on to do to find careers not just in fashion, right, but in other consulting firms, so business consulting firms and so on. So certainly a fashion diploma is quite versatile. It will allow you many different pathways. Leona is also asking, how should I choose a course in general? Well, I guess the first thing is you've got to ask yourself what are the areas of that you're interested in. And from there, narrow down to the different courses that are available across all the polytechnics. You should be talking to your teachers, your parents as well, and your peers. Once you've narrowed down to a few courses, you should start to look at the polytechnics, talk to the people in the polytechnic to see, if that's the culture you would like to be part of for the next 3 years. So in general, yeah, it's exploring your own interests and then, talking to different people to find that support, right, and encouragement. Anya is asking, how many people EAE this year for communication design? Okay, Vani, you answer that question, please.
Honestly, I don't have the exact figure. I think normally we take in about close to 30 to 40%, right? I think that would have been the percentage for this year. I don't have the exact figure. Um, and the figure will vary every year, mainly because we look at the quality of students who apply. So even though we may be able to take in more students, if we find that the quality is not there, we won't exercise the full quota that's given to us. So it really varies. I don't think I do not want our students out there, potential students out there, to worry so much about numbers, what's the quota. I think that is not it. If you are really serious about entering through EE, focus your energy on putting together a very good portfolio. Um, if you are, I've seen students who worry so much about interviews, then take opportunity to, in school, present as much as you can, build up your confidence, Now, all of these are what I hope you would focus on. Never mind the numbers. When a student comes in with a very strong portfolio, the aptitude test is done well, we will be happy to give you a place. So I think let's focus on that, right? I saw a question earlier from Sarah, I think, who asked, so if I want to go to Parson, can I get it directly through TP? I don't understand that question, but if you're asking whether with a diploma from School of Design, you would be able to go to Parson, then the answer is yes. We have had students who have gone to Parson, and there will be some advanced setting offered to you depending on your performance with us. Some of them may get 1 or 2 years shaved off their program. So yes, you will be able to go to Parson provided your portfolio in your 3 years with us is a strong one and you have done well. So that's the answer. I think we missed one more question, Pat. Why? Who was that?
Someone is asking about the admission into digital film and television and the intake numbers. I believe that application,
It's about 70 for digital film and television normally.
yeah. Okay, I think we've come to the end of all the questions here on the YouTube Live. Maybe we can go to the questions which are on Pigeonhole. So can we see those questions, please, on Pigeonhole? Okay, so here we are. Okay, the first one, which university will accept graduates from design comms and entry requirements, any advanced standing or credit values? Most, in fact, I think all universities will accept, our design grads from design comms. Entry requirements, of course, would change, depending on the university. Advanced standing or credit also will depend on the curriculum and whether there's a fit or a match, and then the student's portfolio as well, the depth of skill that's required. So that will vary university to university. Usually, we find that for most of our students in local universities, they do tend to get the first year off. For overseas universities, again, depending on the portfolio, some of them get as many as 2 years off in terms of advanced standing. All right, the next question. Will there be an interview and portfolio required for application via DAE?
Yes, just like our early admission exercise for direct admissions, you also will be required to produce your portfolio, come in for an interview, and sit for the aptitude test. So it is pretty much like EAE as well. Right?
Okay, the next question. How does the architecture course differ from other polys and how expensive will it be? Again, we try not to compare. Really, it's hard for us to comment on all the other courses offered by the other polytechnics. What we can tell you is that for the interior and architecture design course here in TP, it's really an amalgamation of two different streams, right? One is architecture and the other is interior design. So there is a mix of both, which then allows the students some flexibility and latitude in terms of whether they choose to further their studies in architecture, strictly architecture, or they choose to move into interior design. Either way, it allows them that option, even when they're looking at employment. So that's how we run the course. It's quite hard then for us to comment on how the other polytechnics do this. As to how expensive it will be, I guess there will be certain expenses, when they are making their models and so on. I don't know, or I can't put a figure to it.
Actually, if I can jump in,
Yes.
I'm not sure what you mean by how expensive will it be. Course fee, I think you can check. It's about $3,000 for every academic year. In terms of other costs that students will incur, it really depends, and it also depends on the student. Some of the students have a bit more ambitious in terms of the projects, the models that they want to do. So the cost will vary. But I want to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. Students who are really struggling, we will find ways to help these students. So that is my reassurance to anyone out there who's very worried about money, right, or finances.
Okay, there is this next question that says, I heard that your architecture course brings a lot of areas and projects, etc. Will that hinder one's learning as one is being opened up to too much in a short period of time? How did past students fare? Oh,
That's a very tough question.
yeah.
And there are so many facets to that question. And I'm also not very clear what you mean by architecture course brings a lot of areas and projects. We do have 3 years, right? In these 3 years, what we do to expose our students to is not just the technical skills, but soft skills, life skills. We want to expose our students. What I think makes our education in School of Design very unique, maybe, and interesting, is that we get our students to do a lot of industry projects. Now, we are training our students for polytechnic education. It is about training students for the world of work. So from the word, from get-go, actually, our students are involved in a lot of projects. Some of them work on live projects. Now, this is going to add a lot of value to the portfolio. Is that too much? We do have our fundamental subjects, we have our TP fundamental subjects, and we have internship. I admit there is a lot going on in 3 years, but what we are trying to do for our students is to prepare you as varied in varied areas as possible. So you will be able to go into the industry with some of these strengths through your exposure during our school. How did students in the past fare? Our students do very well. A lot of if I take this particular diploma, for example, interior architecture and design, we have had many students who have gone on to pursue their degree courses. Some of them have gone on to become architects. Some of them have set up their own companies. They have become their own entrepreneurs. We have had students from IAD who have been sponsored by our design council to be scholars. So I would say our students have fared very well, despite the fact that we do have a lot of projects that we expect our students to do. But that makes the design education all that more interesting, actually.
Okay, there's another question. Projects for IAD, mostly individual or group? I think there's a mix, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so you do get chances to work with groups, and your final year project is going to be a solo project. The next question, will ADM cause me to spend more in my course? I think I would reiterate what Vani has said. Really don't worry so much about the money. Every project or every course would have certain amount of expenses when it comes to project costs. So we will be able to help. There are avenues for help financially if this is really needed. All right, so don't worry too much about that. The next question, if I wanted to take a design course for PFP, but I didn't take design and tech in N levels, am I still eligible to apply? Yes, you are. Please do apply. Finally, the last question. My child is not in the AEP program. Will he be disadvantaged at the early admissions exercise? No. Really, it doesn't matter whether you're in the AEP or not. A lot depends on the portfolio that you show us. Of course, you can show us work that's done, in AEP or in your usual art program. But again, we would prefer to see a lot of work that's done outside of school, things that you pursue in your own spare time, and a good range of work too. So your child will not be disadvantaged if he's not in AEP. And with that, I think we've come to the end of all the questions, right? Really want to thank all of you for throwing us so many interesting questions and for being here with us this morning. There are other opportunities for you to get in touch with us if you need to. You can write to us. I believe that there are forms and avenues of feedback on the microsite. So please do write to us if you have any queries. And with that, I want to say thank you very much for being here. All the best for your O levels. And we hope to see you in design school soon. All right. Bye-bye from me and Vani.